Welcome to What's the Big Idea, where we dive into the ideas, tools and practices that shape better, more fulfilling work environments. I'm your host, Linda Wilkin, and I'm here with CEO of ABE Global, Rob May. Today we're exploring a topic that can fundamentally transform how we work together: psychological safety in the workplace, which is a theme in the new ABE Level 5 Diploma in Business Management and Leadership. In this episode, we will be defining what psychological safety is, why it matters, and discussing the practical steps to create it in your team or organisation. So, if you want to know what psychological safety is all about, stay tuned. This one's for you. So, Rob, let's start with the basics. Exactly what is psychological safety?
Okay, the term psychological safety was coined by Dr. Amy Edmondson, a professor at Harvard Business School, and she defines it as a shared belief that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. In simple terms, it means people feel comfortable speaking up, asking questions and sharing ideas without fear of embarrassment, rejection or punishment. So psychological safety isn't just about being nice to each other, it's about creating an environment where everyone feels empowered to be candid, ask for help and openly discuss mistakes or concerns.
That sounds great for morale, but how does that help overall business success?
Okay, let's break it down. So first, psychological safety drives innovation, because if team members feel safe to voice unconventional ideas or challenge the status quo, they're far more likely to contribute creative solutions. Think about it, if you're afraid of being ridiculed or ignored, you're probably not going to speak up with that big, bold idea. Secondly, it improves learning and growth. In a psychologically safe team, people feel comfortable admitting mistakes or knowledge gaps, which leads to open discussions and faster learning. So instead of sweeping issues under the rug, they're addressed directly, and that's vital for continuous improvement. And finally, I would say, psychological safety is essential for well-being. People who feel safe to express themselves are less stressed, more engaged, more connected with their team, less likely to burn out. And this isn't just a productivity boost, it also helps reduce that burnout and build trust within the team. In fact, I did some research for this podcast and I came across a very interesting example: Google's corporate research into what makes their teams successful. It's a deep dive into team dynamics called Project Aristotle, which you can find online. It's a really interesting read if you've got time. There's a great article about it in the New York Times online version called What Google Learned from Its Quest to Build the Perfect Team. So it's well worth having a look at this article if you've got a few minutes. But as a brief explainer, the project aimed to identify patterns and behaviours within teams that led to high performance. So Google spent 2 years studying 250 performance attributes across their 180 or so teams. And initially they thought that the recipe for a successful team would be the usual markers you'd think of. So money, resources, throw in a few high performers, an experienced manager and so on. But actually they were wrong. They found that by far the single most important factor for high performing teams was psychological safety.
That's pretty powerful. I'm definitely going to read that article. So now that we know why psychological safety is important, let's talk about how to foster it. For instance, are there actionable steps that any leader or team member can use to start implementing this idea today?
I think the first step is to model vulnerability. Leaders especially play a key role here, but it's something everyone can contribute to. When leaders admit their own mistakes or share moments of uncertainty, it normalises vulnerability for everyone. I still remember the first time I was put in charge of running a company, and not long after joining, I was sitting down with the senior management team, who were all very serious people, very professional, talented, intelligent people, and there was a business problem. I can't remember what it was, but I remember the team sketching out the issues, and they were looking at me for the solution. Now, maybe because I'd only been there for a matter of weeks, I said something like, I'm really not sure what our approach should be with this. What do you all think? And it was such a powerful moment. It was as if 6 light bulbs flicked on instantly, and the team was immediately encouraged to share their own ideas without fear. They started talking, there was more energy, they came up with solutions. I guess they were just used to top-down management, but I've tried to maintain that approach ever since.
So it's really about encouraging open dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. And this can be as simple as making it clear that all opinions are valued and even dissenting opinions are welcome, so long as they're constructive.
This is very connected with the idea of bringing out our whole self to work.
Sort of, but I think we need to be very careful here. And I guess what I'm about to say may sound a bit unfashionable, but I actually don't believe that we should bring our whole self to work. I think certainly we should bring our true self to work, absolutely, if that means being able to show up authentically and express all parts of who we are, our values, our beliefs, our identities, without fear of judgment or discrimination. Of course, that's what we all want, but in my view, we should bring our work self to work. Because, look, you're in a professional setting with people who you don't really know as well as you think you do. You might want to filter your personal opinions on some sensitive issues. People don't know about your sense of humour or how you talk to your friends and families, and it may not be appropriate for the workplace. So, bringing your whole self to work isn't an excuse for leaving your boundaries behind, and I'm constantly astonished in life and work by the amount of people who seem to only view the world through the lens of their own opinions and lack self-awareness. And having boundaries and respect, I think this is really important to psychological safety. And just like in all other aspects of workplace health and safety, it is the responsibility of everyone, not leaders. But it is the leader's job to intervene when harmony and cohesion is disrupted. Individuals can integrate their unique perspectives, backgrounds and experiences into their professional lives, and we shouldn't feel the need to hide or edit parts of our identity to fit in. But a psychologically safe environment is also an environment that has boundaries and has respectfulness.
Absolutely. So let's change gears. In our last podcast on authentic leadership, you talked about learning from mistakes. Is that part of a culture of psychological safety?
Yes, definitely. Celebrating effort, not just results. And there's a great story, I think it's in the book Shoe Dog, which is worth a read. It's the autobiography of Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. There's a story he mentions about a rising star, I think it's in this book, in the marketing department, who had a great idea for a campaign. And so Nike gave him a team, they gave him budget, resources to deliver the project. Anyway, the project was a disaster. It didn't work. So what management did was they took this guy and his team out for pizza and drinks, and they celebrated the fact that he had the courage to have a good idea. They took a risk. It didn't pay off this time, but I think that's a wonderful attitude. When teams focus solely on outcomes, people may feel pressured to hide mistakes or take fewer risks. But when, as a leader, as a company, you recognise the effort, experimentation and learning involved in projects, even if they don't yield immediate success, I think it reinforces a culture where trying new things is valued.
Absolutely, that sounds great. Last time you mentioned some companies have embraced authentic leadership. Can you bring this to life with a real-world example of a brand that everyone will recognise?
Well, I think everyone will know Disney Pixar, the animation studio. It's particularly known actually for its psychologically safe work culture. One of their practices is something they call the Brain Trust meeting, where anyone on the team can give candid feedback on a project. It's not about hierarchy. Everyone's input is considered equally, from the new animators to senior directors. This open, constructive dialogue allows them to continually improve and innovate, which is part I guess, of the reason why they've been able to produce so many groundbreaking films. Another example I would say is Microsoft under CEO Satya Nadella, who's known for shifting the company culture towards one of learning and openness by fostering an environment where team members feel safe to share ideas and feedback. It's made Microsoft, in my opinion, a more agile and innovative company.
Okay, so as we wrap up, let's go over a few quick takeaways on psychological safety. We've heard that psychological safety is to be foundational to trust, innovation and learning in any team. When people feel safe to speak up, great ideas emerge, mistakes are addressed and the team becomes stronger.
That's right. If you're a leader, your influence is critical. So model vulnerability, invite open dialogue, celebrate effort, and respond thoughtfully to feedback. And if you're a team member, know that you can also contribute by being a supportive and respectful colleague and respectful of others' input. Psychological safety isn't built overnight. I think we should recognise that it's a continual practice of small actions. And sometimes it may go off track and you have to go back and work out what went wrong and reset those team dynamics and rebuild. And that's fine. That's what makes the culture stronger. At ABE, for instance, we've worked hard to identify the company values that are important to us, to our teams, and to our customers. And we've codified this in something called the ABE Way, which you can read about on our website at abeuk.com.
Yes, I absolutely recommend the ABE Way for anyone who wants to understand our company better. Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to What's the Big Idea? Remember that psychological safety is included in the module Leading a Safe and Healthy Work Environment, which is part of the ABE Diploma in Business Management and Leadership, developed with our friends at the Institute of Leadership. If you found this episode helpful, please consider subscribing, sharing it with your team, or leaving a review on any of our social media channels. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you have a story about psychological safety in the workplace? Or maybe a question? Reach out to us. Until next time.